Hello, my name is Jordan Berman. I'm in human geography. This is my geography in the news article. Uh, the article I chose for the assignment is entitled No Matter the Culture, Death Demands Reverence. In the article, the author describes discovering an ancient Indian skull and a museum's decision to display that skull for all to see. The author argues that this is disrespectful to the ancestors of the man and that the museum was remiss in making him into an exhibit. Furthermore, the article goes on to describe the laws surrounding artifacts in America and argues that there should be a better protections in place in order to preserve these artifacts while ensuring the dignity of the peoples who the artifacts represent. While it seems that the remains are being repatriated to a Native American tribe, it shows a keen lack of respect and understanding for this delicate matter. Now, as we all know, death is an inherent part of life. It is one of the only inevitabilities we have in this world. In short, it is the great equalizer. Death has traditionally been a major cultural factor for many societies, nations, and cultures. In fact, many of these groups have developed traditions and practices surrounding death, from Mexico's Day of the Dead, which celebrates the death of your ancestors and honors them, to the mummification practices in ancient Egypt, which held great cultural significance for the land. You can tell a lot about a region and their culture based on their beliefs and practices about this topic, and it can help show the difference between cultural regions as found in Chapter 2. While these regions are often formed around religion, language, or a common location, cultural traditions are also a way to delineate between regions. These cultural differences are even more apparent in nation states that share a similar population and have been muddied in the global world we now live in, where nations are made up of many cultural groups. One of the more interesting parts of the article comes from this friction. America was a nation founded by European settlers, but these European settlers had to contend with a native population that was already ingrained and living on the land. These people have come to be known as Native Americans or American Indians, and they are a distinct and separate group from the nation these European settlers would create that we now know as America. There is much history between these two groups, and despite America's attempt to paint over or whitewash our history, we know that there was a lot of violence and there was a viciousness in how we treated American Indians. Due to disease, war, and famine, the Native American populations have been decimated. According to the 2010 U.S. Census, there are about 5.2 million Native Americans living in the country, which makes up for about 1.6% of the entire youth population. This amounts to a drop in the bucket for a population that sits around 350 million people currently, and it shows that they're a small minority group in today's America. However, unlike other immigrants who have come here from places like Mexico or Central America or Europe or Syria, these people have a claim to the land, and while each immigrant group brings their own culture and regional traditions, we can see that these Native Americans have a claim to be here as its original people. Due to this, Native Americans have not integrated as much as other groups who have moved into the country, and they have to contend as a minority nation within the borders of the U.S. This relates to Chapter 13 in its discussion on nations and states, and like in other parts of the world, this is a group of people who have a claim to the land the majority power, the U.S. government specifically, does not want to give them. While some Native Americans have chosen to integrate into American society, there are enclaves of these people in several places called tribes. These tribes have some limited authority over their land, and the American government has tried to help these people within its abilities. It's clear that these people are inhabiting a land that they have a claim to and suffering under the yoke of neocolonialism. And at some point, we're going to have to contend and be respectful for their heritage in a way that we traditionally have not been. And as the article says, every culture, despite its own individual traditions, death demands reverence.